talking about? Every time you keep coming here. Huh? Oh, hi. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Square Circle. I am the Chancellor of Lyles University, Brian Lyles. And next to me is the man, the myth, the legend, the real true star of this show, Will Dunham. Welcome back, my brother.
Thank you very much.
All right. And next to me is
That was almost a swerve.
I know. And next to me is this guy who claims he's the biggest heel on the planet and superstar of the universe. Who are you again?
I hate you.
No, you see it on the lower credits.
That's the X-Man.
Oh,
It's
Thank
that's
you,
X-Man.
Will
Oh,
Dunham. Thank you. A
okay.
professional is finally here in the
Okay,
studio.
I thought it was the XO Man, but anyway, I digress. But anyway, today we are, mind you, we're a little humorous today, but there is some serious discussion today we're going to talk about. We are going to be talking about the Ultimate Warrior. A few days ago, he died right after his induction to the Hall of Fame, and everyone knows about his very passionate speech on Monday Night Raw, which X is going to read very shortly. And later in the panel, we'll have Behemoth Bob and Charmin Chucky going to come in, and they're going to also further discuss about the Ultimate Warrior's passing. But Will, let's talk about his career first. I'm still shocked about it, but it's still you have some good insight about his career.
So the thing about the Ultimate Warrior is you have to look at him in the pantheon of WWE stars. If you look at the foundation of the World Wrestling Federation after Vince McMahon Jr. took over the company from his father, the major star at that point was Hulk Hogan. Okay, but there was a second chapter in the company, and that was after the McMahons thought that Hogan no longer could carry the ball as the top guy, and this came about in 1989. In 1987 and 1988, there was a huge muscular wrestler who had been called the Dingo Warrior earlier in his career, who was brought into the World Wrestling Federation and renamed the Ultimate Warrior, who really became one of the huge fan favorites. And by 1989, had rivaled the popularity of the Hulkster.
Right.
And in one of the most important matches in the history of the company, two good guys were pitted against each other in Toronto at WrestleMania, and Warrior was coronated as the new king of the WWF at the time. That's before they got the F out, if you know what I mean. Ultimate Warrior ultimately was unable to be the successor to Hulk Hogan, but what I want to say is people need to remember the magnitude of the star that he was inside the ring at that time. Okay, let me give you the flip side of this, though. So Ultimate Warrior, while representing a huge fan favorite, also represented some of the dark side of the professional wrestling business. In particular, the rampant use of anabolic steroids at the time. He was almost a personification of that, okay? The entire popularity of the Ultimate Warrior was encapsulated in his body. That's what he was, okay? He had a huge, unbelievably cut body. And that's why he got the reaction from the fans that he did. How did he get that body, Brian?
Well, I figure, a lot of prayers, eating his vitamins, working out a lot. Chicken and rice. And all that stuff.
Right. So you were right about the vitamins part. But the vitamins were injectable and some of them were taken orally.
Right.
So the WWF at the time was a place that had a lot of anabolic steroids, and those issues are coming home to roost right now. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the show. But Ultimate Warrior died on Tuesday, April 8th at the age of 54. And this was just 3 days after being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, 2 days after WrestleMania. And X, you saw him there, correct?
Yes, we did.
And then 1 day after appearing on Monday Night Raw. So let's not forget that Warrior in 1988, 1989, and 1990 was as big a star then as John Cena is now or Daniel Bryan is now.
Right.
Okay? The same type of fan reaction the anticipation of his matches, although inside the ring, this guy couldn't carry either of these guys' jocks, and that that match in Toronto against Hogan, I think, still stands as one of the huge moments in the history of this company. So as of our news deadline, there was no cause of death announced, and local authorities said it was a medical cause. Okay, I think we know where this is heading. So Warrior was a longtime steroid user. Steroids have a dangerous effect on the human body, both short-term and long-term, especially relating to the heart and the liver. It would not come as a surprise if the autopsy is going to find indication of damage, like an enlarged heart, that would be indicative of damage caused by anabolic steroids. But let's talk a little bit about him inside the ring and also him as a personality and X. I think that his last appearance on Monday Night Raw really sort of showed a lot about his personality. You want to pick it up there?
Well, yeah, the Ultimate Warrior's always been a man that spoke prolifically, or as prolifically as Ultimate Warrior could. The man really believed and made the Ultimate Warrior a character, and he carried on as such. He always referenced Ultimate Warrior as another person. When he spoke in the first few minutes of his Monday Night Raw appearance, he was Warrior, a.k.a. Jim Hellwig. Then he donned the mask, the coat, and he became the Ultimate Warrior for one final time. And again, very prolific that, his last words were from or in the character of the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior, it's almost like, a Savage promo, how Warrior talks. You can't just see one, You see plenty of them, and they're all different. They all have a uniqueness about them. And I think that's what added to the character of the Ultimate Warrior, which is how random he was in his actions, how random he was in his promos. There's only one Ultimate Warrior. There always will be one Ultimate Warrior, and I'm grateful he came around because he provided plenty of entertainment. Now I do have a quote if you'd like me to read. If you'd like me to read that.
Go ahead.
These were the Ultimate Warrior's final words to the public and the fans. And Ultimate Warrior states, "No WWE talent becomes a legend on their own. Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. His lungs breathe a final breath. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others and makes them bleed deeper and something larger than life, then his essence, his spirit will be immortalized by the storytellers, by the loyalty, by the memory of those who honor him and make the running the man did live forever. You are the legend makers of Ultimate Warrior. In the back, I see many potential legends, some of them with warrior spirits, and you will do the same for them. You will decide if they lived with the passion and intensity, so much so that you will tell your stories and you will make them legends as well. Ultimate. You are the Ultimate Warrior fans, and the spirit of the Ultimate Warrior will run forever." That is some very telling final words as he passed away a day later.
After seeing that, and I figured it's like, okay, great speech. It was a great speech just to say, hey, I'm after being finally inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I figured it's like, all right, that's cool. And then a few days later, you wake up, you're looking on your Twitter feeds or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and next thing you see her, rest in peace, Ultimate Warrior. I'm like, what? You're like scrolling through. You go to the news and you find out he died, and they're like, the funny thing. I don't want to say funny, but just the weird thing is the reaction of all the WWE superstars, the current ones, saying, "We just met this guy." We, Batista saying it's like, telling him it's like the reason why shake the ring ropes is because of you. You got Zack Ryder saying this is like, I just met him, I shook his hand and all that stuff. So it's still shocking to hear the fact that it's like a guy who was just inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he says his right now his last speech ever to the fans, and he dies. It in a weird way. And I remember you posted on your Facebook page about now all
You went to his Facebook page?
He's-
Come on.
I'm still disgusted about him and that picture with Trish Stratus, but we'll discuss that in the next show. But anyway, but
That
you're
was not Trish Stratus. That was some lady from a bowling alley.
Yeah,
Oh.
Will's right.
Oh, okay, cool.
Will's right.
All right. She looks like Trish, but anyway, I like how you paid homage to that cast of people in WrestleMania 7. Because technically Ultimate Warrior is the last member of the Warrior versus Savage
Retirement match at WrestleMania 7, yeah.
right? And surprisingly, it's like
Who won that one, X?
The fans.
Yeah.
Very good
Yes.
answer.
And surprisingly, Sherry Martel was kind of died the same way. She got inducted to the Hall of Fame when she got in, and a few weeks later, she ends up dying. So
She died in June 2007. One of the most tragic months in the history of professional
Right.
wrestling, because her death came just days before Chris Benoit killed his son and his wife, and then killed himself.
right. So let's put it this way. Honestly, I am not a big, huge Ultimate Warrior fan. My sister is. She liked him like right from the jump. I just felt like it's like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna replace Hogan. Fine. During the Hogan's match at WrestleMania 6, I was rooting for Hogan. I mean, the one time
You didn't see the writing on the wall, did you?
No. I just felt like it's like I'd rather see Hogan in this. But I'm kind of glad that you needed. WWE was smart. WF at the time was smart enough to say we need to pass the torch, and they saw something in him. Unfortunately, it wasn't the way it should be career-wise.
So that was by far the best in-ring performance that the Warrior ever delivered. As a
But
matter
I think
of
for
fact,
both of them at the time. So
well, Hogan, when he wanted to be a good wrestler, he could be a good wrestler.
Right.
I think his
he was
match with here, I'll get flamed for this one.
Savage.
I think his match with Savage at 7 was
You mean
very
5?
7.
7? Oh, you mean Warrior? And
Warrior.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
Warrior
sorry.
Savage, was his best match. But of course, everything. Savage.
Well, you think that anybody who was wrestling Randy Savage had their career match that day?
I know.
But follow me on this. So let's say that either one of those were his best 2 matches. Okay, they may have been his only 2 good matches. And the fact of the matter is, the Ultimate Warrior inside the ring, as a professional wrestler, as a ring general, as a ring tactician, wasn't any good. Okay, and let's not walk around acting like all of a sudden this was a brilliant technical wrestler. He wasn't. That wasn't who he was. Okay, you could almost even make the argument that he wasn't even a fantastic athlete, even though he looked great. He didn't have particularly good cardiovascular conditioning. But the fact of the matter is, he took what he had, and the wrestling promoters, Vince McMahon and others, built him up to what he was, built him to mythic status.
Yes. And he took that to heart, too.
And it worked there, and he believed his own publicity.
One last quote?
Well, I'll just say it's very prolific. His death, you think about it, he fought so hard and so long for many years to protect his likeness, and then he suddenly gives it back to WWE and signs away and gets in the Hall of Fame and then passes away. I think he fulfilled his bargain to himself, if you read between the lines.
Okay. Well, Ultimate Warrior, we're going to miss you, but hopefully you will live on forever among all your fans, and that's what we're going to do. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Charmin Chucky, Behemoth Bob will be coming on, continuing the discussion about the Ultimate Warrior, so stay tuned.
And we're back inside the squared circle. Glad you could be with us here this week. A special show looking at the life and the passing of the Ultimate Warrior this past week. I am Charmin Chucky Williams, joined by the legend himself, Will Dunham, and Behemoth Bob. Bob, why don't we got some other things to talk about with the Warrior. Give us some thoughts about your memories of the Warrior and his wrestling career.
To be quite honest, when I heard about this, I was shocked, but I don't know exactly how to feel about this. As a part of me, my pukemaniac back then is kind of mourning as a major piece of my childhood is gone now. But that being said, I was rooting against him at WrestleMania 6, such like Brian was, and I was hating the Warrior for years because he beat my beloved Huckster. But also in the past decade and a half, the Warrior became a bit of a, for lack of a better term, a recluse, and said some really mean-spirited things to some people who didn't deserve to be kicked when they were down too. So, but in the past few years, he has kind of been redeeming himself. Especially the past weekend of his life, or the last week of his life, he made peace with almost everyone he was ever at odds with.
Right.
So I think that does speak some volumes about how much he was willing to change in later years of life. As far as a wrestler, at least he was better than the Great Khali.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
On Inside the Squared Circle, Chuck, we see the glass as half full.
That's
Woo!
right. That's right.
The best part is he no longer has to wait for the lights to get turned on.
That's right. Yeah,
They're
off now. So anyway, thanks, Bob, for your thoughts on the Warrior. I personally, I think my sentiments just very quickly are pretty much like everybody else. It's like his wrestling skills were minimal to none, and it was all about appearance and persona with the Warrior. And I do agree with you, Will. During that 3-year period, like 88 to 90, something like that, there was nobody bigger in the industry than the Ultimate Warrior. So, it's very sad with his passing. The one thing I did want to just say, just very briefly before we go in and talk a little bit about some of the backstory with the Ultimate Warrior outside of wrestling, is that a lot of the reports coming out saying that he did not look well at WrestleMania backstage.
He looked noticeably red.
And, there's a lot of people out there who seem to think that he knew that he was ill, and he knew that his time was limited, and he did this to protect his family financially going forward. So, that is something that will never be known, but it's just something that's out there. And all that, and our thoughts and prayers do go out to the Warriors family.
Some
regardless.
people also think that UFOs built the pyramids, so we don't need to worry about the humanoids.
The pyramids really were supposed to be squares.
Oh,
okay,
they blew it on the blueprints.
That's right. Yeah, slants. We're talking about the Ultimate Warrior and his life and times and all that, and he did have his problems outside of the ring with litigation. With Mr. McMahon. Yeah,
they weren't great friends.
They were not good friends. The stories are out there that he held them up twice at pay-per-view events for more money and merchandising. And then the day later, Mr. McMahon sent him a very nice letter saying, "You're fired!"
And there is two sides to that story, too.
Yeah, well, there is. But for the most part,
there was no innocent party.
Yeah, but for the most part, there's some backstories. Warrior changed his name legally to Warrior.
Yep.
And back in 96...
the Golden State Warriors were not happy about that development.
Right. 96 and 98, they went to war with the WWF, Warrior did, over the rights to the name and the likeness and all of the gimmick that went with the Ultimate Warrior. And the courts awarded in Warrior's favor that he did own all that was his to use. So that was a blow to the WWF at that time. In 2005, they released a DVD called The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior.
Absolute hatchet job.
Which basically...
It was a hatchet job, but it also was true in every syllable.
Yeah, and the thing with that is that a lot of the wrestlers did not have very nice things to say about the Ultimate Warrior.
His contemporaries didn't.
Yes.
But let me make this point, and I think that we saw this WrestleMania weekend, is the next generation had very high thoughts about him because they
absolutely.
were the little kids at the time, and he was the warrior.
Absolutely. And the people who had a lot of negative things to say are the people who now are deemed the old school people in wrestling. Triple H, guys.
DiBiase.
Yeah, guys like that who are the old school guys. They are the ones who had negative things to say about the Warrior.
Bobby Heenan, especially.
Exactly.
He had 2 shovels in his hand.
Exactly. And one of the things, too, that it was interesting in his Hall of Fame speech, he referred to the DVD, I believe, about 2 or 3 times.
It really got under his skin.
And I got to tell you, the third time, I thought he was going to go down a road that I don't really think he wanted to go down.
No, he took the high road ultimately.
But yes, because I watched it and you could just see he started to go down that road with his first sentence. And in my mind,
U-turn.
In my mind, I'm sitting there, and I even posted on my personal Facebook page. I said,
"Stop!"
I said, "Here we go," and I just thought this was going to be this is where he was going to bury them. But he stopped. He regained his composure, and he, as you said, took the high road. And let bygones be bygones.
And the best part is he didn't talk about his mother for 25 minutes.
Well, listen, yeah. Anyway, Will, you got some thoughts about the legal aspects?
Well, so what I want to sort of do is look at. Let's not walk around and act like this is the first time that a professional wrestler has fallen over dead, okay?
Right.
Because the number of Inside the Squared Circle shows where we have had to talk about this is virtually endless. So Warrior's sudden death, simply collapsing while walking with his wife in an Arizona hotel parking lot, is reminiscent of a lot of other wrestling deaths. So one that comes to mind to me is Macho Man Randy Savage, who died on May 20th, 2012, when he simply lost consciousness while driving a car with his wife in the passenger seat in Florida. He was found to have had an enlarged heart. Okay, asterisk number 1 right there.
Yes.
Okay. Another that comes to mind is Road Warrior Hawk, Mike Hegstrand, a longtime steroid user, just like Warrior, just like Savage, who died of an apparent heart attack on October 19th, 2003, was found to have had an enlarged heart. He was 46 years old. There were dozens of wrestlers who simply died of drug overdoses. So Eddie Guerrero, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Bam Bam Bigelow, Miss Elizabeth, sensational Sherry Martel, Luna Vachon, Test, Lance Cade, Brian Pillman, British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and this list could be doubled or tripled the number of actual wrestling drug deaths. But there are also wrestlers who are dying in their later years, and I'm not talking old men, I'm talking in their 40s and 50s, due to the dangerous effects of previous drug use. Okay.
And a lot of that, like you talk about Hawk, a lot of that was a combination of the steroids, the drugs, the alcohol, and then again, it's the damage is done.
Pain-killing medications,
Yeah, exactly.
sleep pills.
At that point, it's only a matter of time.
Well, that's the whole thing. And
It's a ticking time bomb inside their bodies, and their hearts have been damaged to the point that at some point they will fall over.
And the thing here with Warrior, and we're talking about what happened with that. My own personal belief is that all the years of the steroid abuse caught up to him in his heart, and this weekend was probably the most active he has been
That's possible.
as a performer in some time. And with the adrenaline of the weekend and the excitement,
The travel.
and the fast pace of the weekend with different events and being involved, it's very possible that was the catalyst that kind of set put the spark to the flame for the ticking time bomb here.
So, in a lot of ways, I'm going to agree with you. And let me just say this, that an autopsy has been done. As of our news deadline, no announcement had been made as to the cause of death. I have a personal theory as to what it's going to be, but we are going to find out.
Well, the initial report said that they found no drugs or alcohol in him.
Right, although
at the
toxicology tests take a while.
At the time of death.
Now, the Warrior did look bigger than he did 9 months ago when he came back to promote the video.
Let's sure hope that he didn't go back on the juice.
Well, that's the whole thing, and I would like to think that the preliminary report would probably show something if he was. But like you said, toxicology
They're
reports.
going to wait till they've got everything before they're saying anything.
I
Hey,
think-
Chuck,
and-
so you talked about some of the tangled web between McMahon and
Yes.
Warrior.
It was
And
tangled.
I think that the biggest element, the biggest entanglement took place in July 1994. So Warrior was actually called as a prosecution witness against Vince McMahon in the federal drug trial
Right.
of Vince McMahon that a lot of people aren't aware of. McMahon was charged in federal court in New York State on charges of conspiracy to provide anabolic steroids illegally to his wrestlers. Warrior testified there, and he testified, yeah, I used steroids.
Right.
Yes, the WWE had a doctor around who was providing steroids to people, although not to me.
Yeah.
And Warrior said 90% of WWF wrestlers at the time were steroid users.
It was almost a job requirement.
It was a job
Steroids.
requirement.
Look at Shawn Michaels in 1989 and look at him in 1993.
Yeah.
Big difference.
And I agree with you, Will, but it's like anything that they control, it's like they can decide if somebody comes back with a positive test, they can just turn their hand and
Randy
say.
Orton has probably had about 15.
So-
I know, but if you look at the bodies in the WWE now, and you
Yeah.
even compare them to the bodies in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, the
absolutely.
WWE bodies are more natural
Yes.
than what you're seeing down in that minor
Especially
league.
their current champion.
Yeah, who looks a lot like Daniel Bryan. So anyway,
See, that is?
It looks like a barnyard animal as far as I'm concerned. And how did he get a Bella twin? Although he got the sane Bella twin, the insane Bella twin is the one who John Cena got, but I digress.
Too bad for him.
anyway,
That's a crazy woman.
folks, we're going to wrap up Inside the Squared Circle. This edition has been talking about the life and the times and the passing of the Ultimate Warrior. We're glad you could be with us. I want to thank Brian Lyles
You
and
might
the
say, I'm
X-Man
not
who
glad.
were on our first panel. Behemoth Bob, Charmin Chucky, Will Dunham. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about WrestleMania 30.
I hope I never see them again.